Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. My name is Ann Pankova, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter and a special guest today.
Yay. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. Before we get into what we got going on, thanks for joining me in my mobile office. I'm channeling a little bit of Joe Bob today. The kids are doing an activity and I figured this was the best place to be. So we will be announcing the September winner of the ornament kit next week. So make sure you check it out. Check out Chicken Lady, use the code BABY20PIK for 20% off, or the new code, which is
The new code, here, let me look, which is pizza 20 PIK because October's National Pizza Month, of course.
I wish I had known that. I would have saved the day that my family ate pizza twice in one day for October, but hey, we had it last week instead,
You
so
can
whatever.
you can always do it twice.
Do it again because that's fabulous.
Yep, so go ahead, please check out chickenladyfiberarts.com. Again, promo code for the last day of September is baby20 PIK and October is pizza 20 PIK for 20% off your order.
Awesome. All right, so without further ado, we are joined, but yeah, so it's Morgan from Handmade by Me. Hey, Morgan.
Hi, it's so good to finally be on with both of you.
Yes,
I
thanks
know.
for joining us.
I mean, I believe you've been on Knitting Wars before, but we
Yes,
haven't done like a proper sit down interview.
right, yeah.
So, for the people who haven't come across you yet, Morgan has been in the knitting circle for as long as I can remember. She's been hanging out, done some Zooms with her on Patreon and stuff. And you decided to branch out a few months ago, right? And start your own podcast?
Yeah, I was kind of a lurker before, but I finally just kind of thought, I want to get more involved. You know, as comfortable as it is sometimes to just kind of stay in the background and just kind of, you know, support and which I still do. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm entirely kind of, out there, full force, like so
Oh, we're out there.
I mean, more so than me, but yeah, I just was finding like, I kind of want to branch out a bit. It's actually funny. I kind of talked back and forth with Neil for probably well, maybe about a year or so, maybe a bit longer. And I kept saying, yeah, I'm going to start a channel, And then I got to thinking about it, and then I kind of like chickened out and was like, nope, never mind. I'll still be a lurker. I don't care. And then finally I'm just like, no, you're gonna do this. You're gonna step out of your comfort zone a little bit and you're gonna do it. So yeah, I finally just bit the bullet, pressed record on my phone, and just was like, all right, we're doing it. So yeah, it's been really, really fun so far.
That's awesome. Um, how many episodes have you had out now? You've been doing this for a couple of months, right?
I think I'm now at 7, but I haven't uploaded for a while. I've been so like stupidly busy and there's been so many kind of like life changes going on that I haven't really had time to kind of just like some days I feel like I don't even have time to really think. It's kind of just like go, 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 go.
Yes.
So I'm hoping this weekend actually I'm gonna have time to just sit down, record something. I don't bother editing because A, I don't know how, and B, I just wouldn't want to take that time to do it anyways, so it kind of works out that way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And when it's just you, I think it's a little bit different. Anne and I sometimes go off on like side tangents. We have side quests that we go on when we're recording that nobody else cares about except maybe me and her. So like that's a lot of the reason we edit, just because, those quests aren't for everybody.
Right. And I mean, like, I think like if I, like had, either like somebody like doing the show like with me, or like anything like that, like I'd probably be like, okay, yeah, maybe one of us can edit and like figure that out. But I'm like, you know what, I don't care. Like if I go off on a side quest, I'm like, whatever, that's just part of the show. But
No, that's cool. That's very fun. I think I've seen like maybe your first couple, but like you said, life just got off the rails. I don't know if anybody else um has been feeling it, but man, I feel like I didn't even realize that September happened, and we were just talking about the what code it should be. What if we were in September or October? And I'm like, wait, what? We're in October? Like, how did that even happen? It's been crazy.
yeah, definitely.
But so you're kind of on the young side to be part of our group. Um, have you always been a conservative leaning person, or did something happen that made you? I mean, you don't have to talk about it. I didn't ask you if you're okay with that.
Oh no, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I've always been dubbed as the baby of pretty much any group I've ever been in. So it's fine. I'm 24, and yeah, I was not always conservative. I would say I was more, I mean, not quite moderate. I'd say maybe slightly left leaning. I don't think I was like as bad as like some people are, where it's like, okay, yep, they're completely liberal. It's totally like, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that my family in general is fairly conservative. So I think I've always kind of had both um, kind of sides of the coin, in my life growing up, and so I think I've mostly had a pretty fair kind of like look on politics. But I used to not want to talk politics at all. I mean, I hated politics. I just kind of was raised to not talk about politics at all. Like that's just something you don't talk about with people. Even your own family, you probably shouldn't, talk about that with people. Um, and so, you know, when things kind of started changing, when, Trump kind of got into office and it was kind of becoming more and more like mainstream that people talked about politics in, you know, the hobbies, that's when I was kind of starting to be like, okay, this is annoying, but I want to find out more now.
Right.
So it
So
kind of, yeah.
when Ravelry happened, you were 19, 20. You were on the
Around
young
there,
side.
yeah. Yep.
So were you involved in Ravelry at all, or did you see that going
I
on?
Well, so I was only on Ravelry basically to just find patterns and maybe like, like put like my yarn stash on there or whatever. Like I didn't go on any of the forums. I mean, I maybe followed one or two channel like people from YouTube on Ravelry for their groups, but I never participated. I
Mm,
never went on any of the other forums. I mean, frankly, I didn't really even know how to even access them, honestly. And even if I did, I don't think I would have been very involved anyway, because that's just not something that I was doing at that point. Um, but when the whole announcement about Trump came, I just like I read it a couple times because I almost couldn't believe that it was something that was being posted almost. I was kind of like,
Right.
is this like candid camera or something? Is this like like is this some sort of like we're not in
what kind of
April, are
bad
we?
joke is this?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, it was really, really weird. And I was kind of annoyed because I thought, well, okay, now granted, I didn't care for Trump very much. I wasn't like, you know, But granted, I hadn't voted in, before either. And so I was kind of like, well, okay, I don't really like Trump that much. I mean, I think he's kind of a jerk. I think, he's not, you know. But then when that all came out, I said to my boyfriend at the time, I said, well, but they're not going to get rid of any liberal supporting patterns. They're not going to get rid of anything that supports, Barack Obama, or they're not going to get rid of anything that, supports Hillary, or like whatever. So I'm like, well, that's not fair.
Right.
But, and then the thing that I've heard a lot is, well, life's not fair, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not. But it's like, if we're gonna say, okay, one side of the political aisle is not allowed to talk about stuff or create stuff based upon that, and the other side is. I mean that's just out and out, like, it's like, really, you can be a little more subtle than that. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. So not to like totally age shame you or whatever, but you weren't even old enough to vote when Trump was elected, right?
Right.
In 2016?
Yeah.
That's so
Well,
crazy to me.
Also, a little aside to that, when did you learn how to knit?
I learned when I was around 7 or 8. My grandma taught me. I think she initially taught me how to knit, and I did that for a little bit, and then she taught me how to crochet,
Okay.
and then I did that for a little while. And then I ended up like putting that like down. And I really don't remember why. Like, I don't know if I got frustrated because it didn't look right, or like, what the issue was. But then I ended up picking up those looms, those like circle ones.
Mm-hmm.
I was cranking out hats like nobody's business on those. I loved making hats. And so I would
Awesome.
do that all the time. And then I would get like the other shapes of like the looms, and I'd try to make like blankets and slippers and stuff like that. And then finally, I think it was when I was a freshman in high school, maybe, or maybe a sophomore, I was following a crochet channel on YouTube, which I can't remember who it was, but she would come out with tutorials on how to make hats, slippers, scarves, towels, tons of stuff. And I would follow the tutorials, and I would just start making stuff, and I fell in love with it again. I would take projects to class with me during study halls when I had nothing to do. I was like the only person who was like knitting in high school, but I honestly didn't really care. So I was definitely a nerd then and still now, but
I
it's
think
good.
everybody's got a bit of nerd in them. Don't worry about it. You could be like Anne and just let it fly when you talk about obscure Japanese something.
Everyone's got a little nerd. Some
Yeah,
more
everybody's
than
got nerd.
others.
I wish I was your kind of nerd in high school, though. I was just a regular nerd. Like, I wish I was knitting and doing that stuff. That would have been cooler.
Get a jump
No, but
start on your
that's awesome.
craft.
Right? Maybe I would be like way better at it now if I had started like you did. And you are a very proficient knitter. You are constantly like
Thank
making
you.
sweaters and prolific, proficient. You're very good at all of it. Those are the two things,
Thank
right?
you. You are too, though. Like I am still trying to like convince myself, okay, you can start trying to design something. Start trying to design something. And every time I think, okay, yep, I'm gonna go and do it now. I'm gonna I don't know how either one of you do it. I really don't. Because every time I think about it, I'm like, nope, it's too overwhelming. I can't do it. Like, there's just something that just,
You know what'll happen?
yeah.
Something will happen that you'll get an idea that you can't get out of your head. and that's going to be what starts you, probably, because that's how mine started. Like, and like, I haven't actually designed, I'm supposed to be designing a pattern every month. I haven't been doing that, but this thing that I'm working on came into my head, and I'm like, well, that's that. And I have a cowl planned, and I even think I know how I'm going to do it already. But that's, at least for me, that's how it happens. Like, something will just be in my head, and I will just keep thinking about it until I like, it has to be made. And then that's kind of how it works, at least in my opinion. But it'll come if it's time, if you're gonna, you know.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
And I mean, I'm still surprised, being the nerdy gal you are, with, because I know that you've mentioned with the Fallout tattoos that you have,
Yeah,
that you were thinking of doing a couple of those as knitting
this
patterns.
one here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping one of these days I can get this onto a hat or something. But yeah, it's kind of hard to show because it's like upside down, but I've got a few characters from the game. Um, I'm hoping one of these days I can actually finish, because this is supposed to be a whole half sleeve. And I'm basically missing one, you kind of see it's like right, like one space right here that's blank. So I have to get that done and then have everything colored in, and then it'll be finally done. But every time I think, okay, I'm gonna have a little bit of money saved up, all of a sudden something goes, psych, nope.
That's how it
I'm like,
is. Better just, yeah. No, I've been
yeah.
talking about getting a
So
tattoo. I have an idea for my husband and my kids. I want to get. My brother's going
nice.
to draw it for me. I know what it is. I probably won't be able to get it until they're like 40, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Whatever. Um, but if you do a Fallout pattern, that would be great, because my husband, it's not one of his favorite games, but he does come back to it, time
Yeah,
and again. Once he's done playing other things, he'll like come back to Fallout again. So when you make that pattern, let me know.
yeah, for sure, definitely. Like it's kind of funny. Like I, used to, because I'm trying to think, because I got my first tattoo when I turned 21. Um, and initially I was like really, really scared, and I was like, oh, don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. And then from there, it was kind of like, ooh, okay, I like this.
This is all right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I got the first one, and then I waited a little bit, and then I got my little snake here, which I ended up finding out that at least when I get a tattoo, I have to have like the plastic like wrap thing like over it. Otherwise, something weird happens, with like my skin, where it's like it starts to like peel like too early or whatever, and then it like fades. It's kind of hard to
Oh,
see, but it's not solid black through here. It's actually, there's like parts of it that are kind of like faded. And
I
I've
think
been
I know what you're
thinking,
talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, do I want to have it touched up again, or do I want to like do something else with it? Because there's like so many ideas that I have, kind of like with like knitting designs and stuff like that. It's like there's so many ideas that I have for tattoos. It's like,
Well, more
oh,
space
I
for
don't know if
knitting
I can.
designs and tattoos in general.
That's true. That's
There's
true.
more
Yeah.
of a scope of possibility.
That's true.
But um I got my first tattoo back in the 2000s, because that's how old I was. I was 18 in like 2001. And so I got a tramp stamp because that's what everybody was doing. So, woo, at least you made better choices than I did with mine.
So, Morgan, I learned how to knit, became a part of the knitting world. Ravelry controversy happened. And eventually, you did start your own podcast. That's all very exciting. But you are also very accomplished in languages, which you and Neil talked about at length when you were on his show.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I've been learning languages primarily in school, but I also really liked learning on my own. Um, I started learning Spanish in school about in the fourth grade. But I know that before I was just very interested. So I went on my own and actually did a course, like this online. See, now I'm gonna forget what it was called. I know it was through the BBC actually.
Okay.
And so it was in, Castilian Spanish, but in school they taught, and see, and like that was so weird too, which, because we'd have like different teachers, and some would be like native Spanish speakers and some wouldn't. And they'd also be from various countries. Like I know at one point I had a teacher from Mexico. Um, I had a teacher from Spain as well. And there's different, like kind of like how, in English, like Neil, says different, different things than, we do. It's the
Yes.
same thing in Spanish. And so, even learning in school, it was kind of hard sometimes because, we changed teachers so often that, at the beginning of every school year, we'd essentially be kind of starting from scratch. And so for me, like, because I was somebody who loved going to Spanish class. That was like the highlight of the school day for me. Like I always loved learning it. And when it came time for me to, kind of, get ready to start, thinking about, taking classes in high school, they were wanting to recommend me for Spanish 1, which is basically like a, nearly complete beginner, Spanish course. And I basically begged the Spanish teacher at the time to recommend me for Spanish 2, because I was like, I don't want to do Spanish 1. Like we've been going through the same thing year after year now for the past like 4 years. I'm like, I don't want to do that again. So the teacher put me and one other kid basically on a separate like lesson plan from everybody else. We would actually go to like a different classroom and we would do like all this work like separately. And then at the end of the year, she finally recommended me for Spanish 2. But at that point, then French was going to be available to me too. And I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. And so I basically had to like beg again to do both languages. And people were like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, you know,
And
I
you're
was
like,
like,
they're both
please.
romance languages. What's the
Right.
difference?
Right.
There's
And I thought,
crossover.
oh, well, exactly. And I thought, well, but you might get confused. I'm like, well, if I get confused, I'll drop it. Like,
Right. It's
you
not
know,
like you're married to it for the rest of your life. There's,
right. And
opportunity to
so,
change.
and so for the 4 years of high school, I took Spanish and French together. And at one point, I was also taking sign language as well.
Damn.
Um, and
That's impressive.
it was so much fun. I mean, I loved it. I thought I was also going to be taking a Chinese class as well, but that didn't end up working out because there wasn't enough. Because it was one of those like hybrid classes that they do through like the local tech college, and there wasn't enough students in the class for them to, you know, like run,
Right.
run it basically.
Right.
So they're like, "Yep, nope, you're not doing that." It's like, well, okay, fine, whatever. But yeah,
So are you fluent in these languages? Can you converse?
I would say yes. I'm probably more fluent in Spanish than I am in French, although I'd say I can, hold a conversation in both. Um, it's kind of funny. I'd say I'm more fluent over like texting than like speaking because I feel like there's a bit of like a delay between, you know, okay, trying to like process through what I want to say in English and then get it like worked around into, okay, how do I say that in Spanish or in French.
Right.
So sometimes I think I'm a bit slower at speaking in both of the languages, but I mean, I've, you know, held, I mean, not like basic conversations, but kind of just, you know, like general kind of like very relaxed, you know, kind of like conversations with people.
Okay. So if you were dropped out of a plane and you landed in either France or Spain, you could get around.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in
More
case
so
that ever
Spanish
happens
than
to you,
French. Right.
in case that
Right.
you're ready.
Well, it's funny. So I think it was my junior year of high school. We had the opportunity to take a trip to France and Spain, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to go. And when I tell y'all that it was like a dream come true, I mean it was the most amazing experience of my life. I felt like I was in heaven. I was just like on top of the world. I was, of course, the one in the whole group that was constantly trying to speak French, constantly trying to speak in Spanish. I was definitely still more fluent in Spanish than in French. So I didn't use French as much as I'd wanted to, but it was just, it was the most amazing thing ever. It
That's
was
awesome.
so cool.
I have never had the privilege of going anywhere except Canada, so I would be lost. Drop me in any of those places, I'm done. Done. Come get me. They're gonna kidnap me. It's over. So whatever. But
You can
that's
call me.
awesome. I will, because I'm gonna need help.
Is French and Spanish the only languages that you're fluent in? I know you were learning other ones, but I don't know your proficiency.
Yeah, I'd say Spanish are really the only two that I am most comfortable having a conversation in. I have been learning Portuguese for a while. And I can maybe hold like a basic conversation, but I wouldn't say that I could like be dropped in like Brazil and be like, you know, able to really like get around, you know, real well. Luckily, I have a few friends who live there, and so, you know, they'd be able to help me. But yeah, if I was like
Yeah,
going about it
I
solo,
I think Brazil's one of those places you don't want to be dropped in without being able to speak. I
no.
think you'll be in trouble. So work on that
Yeah.
before we kidnap
Yeah.
you with our fake airplane that we have.
Yeah. Or a service that we have where we kidnap people and make sure they know their languages well enough to be dropped in foreign countries.
Well,
The
no, but
ultimate language test.
Right.
I just asked it like that because, you know, like I can speak Spanish. I could not go to like Mexico or Spain and like I can ask where things are and I can talk a little. I could not survive. You know, I'm good enough right now that when my kids was taking Spanish, I could help them with their homework. But like once you start like conjugating and stuff, I'm done. I'm out. I took it for all the years too, and I don't know any of it. So I'm just amazed.
Yeah, Morgan, you obviously have a love for languages and really, really want to learn like on your own. But I don't think the American education system is actually meant to teach you anything when it
Oh
comes to
no.
Spanish or French or anything in high school.
Oh yeah,
No.
no. I mean, granted, now where I went to high school, I mean, I would say that I was pretty blessed with teachers who matched my enthusiasm for learning languages and really, I mean, they knew how passionate I was, and they pretty much did everything they could to essentially help me move further along my kind of journey to becoming more and more fluent. So I was very, very blessed with that. But I do know that there are a lot of schools where I mean, it's just not like that at all. um
Yeah.
and even in like college, because I took Spanish and French in college, and then I took Arabic as well. um I was again very, very blessed with professors who were so happy about my enthusiasm that they were so willing to help me out with extra practice if I wanted it, or just, like whatever they felt like they could do to help me, they were very, very, very willing and, able to do that. And it was really, really fun.
I went to a school where the guy who taught us was a missionary in Peru, maybe. And so he could speak very well, but he was, dude, all we did was play soccer in his class. And so like I can say things like a key because you would want to have him pass the ball to you, and that's about it was not very. I guess it depends on who you have helping you. It sounds like you had a lot of people that were willing to work hard to make it easier, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like growing up, it was kind of funny because in like the elementary kind of like middle school age, like I was the kid who was very, very enthused about it, and the other kids knew. And so on like quizzes, stuff like that, or like group activity, I mean, it was kind of like I was like the Google Translate of that time. They would all be asking me how to say stuff. I'm like, figure it out yourself. Like, I'm not going to tell you. Nice try,
the days
though.
You were most popular at school, right? Like everybody was like,
yes.
"Oh, hey, Morgan."
That was the only time.
So I wonder if your ability to like learn and speak other languages helps you with like knitting and crocheting, because it is kind of like a lot of people, like I'm teaching right now and my students have a really hard time like reading the globs of words and letters and looking at charts and things. Like it's all very difficult for them, and I wonder if that makes any difference. I mean, that might be kind of dumb, but I don't know.
Well, no, because it's funny. Like I was actually at one point considering going back to school to do programming. And I mean, they say the same thing about, coding, that it's that, you're essentially learning another language. And I thought, well, that would be perfect for me. But I mean, yeah, like I think like knitting patterns in general, I mean, I think you could really sort of, equate them to being like learning a language. Because I mean, you're having to learn, all of the terminology for, different things. And then you're having to learn what symbol correlates with, each term. And, you're having to kind of keep that in mind. Because I mean, we all know that like when we're looking at a pattern, it would be really difficult if we had to go back and look at, the term, like the definitions of terms every single time we got a new pattern, if we didn't know what like K2 together, meant. Like it'd be kind of rough.
Right.
So like I can definitely see it as being, as like, like knitting, crocheting, being another, like language, so to speak.
Yeah. Like especially I'm thinking with like crochet patterns. Sorry guys, I'm gonna be in the dark now. I can't seem to make light hit me.
Okay.
But crochet patterns, I don't know if you can crochet from a chart. I look at that, it is like hieroglyphics. I cannot discern what any of those shapes mean. There's no way that I'm gonna look at that and then come out with a finished product in the end. Like it's just never gonna happen.
So I actually haven't really been able to knit from, or sorry, not knit, crochet from a like chart before. I know for one of the patterns, I can't remember which one. I think it was the latest crocheted shawl that Neil had me test. I think there was a chart that he had included. And I mean, initially when I looked at it, it didn't make sense to me at all. But after I'd followed the written directions and kind of like got into it, I went back and looked at it. And honestly, like it began to kind of make sense. But it's still something where I think I would have to practice with it a couple more times before I'd say, "Yep, I could read a crocheted graph." Like,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does look very complicated, but like again, I think it's one of those things where it's like when you kind of start connecting how, each symbol kind of like goes together, then I think eventually it kind of starts to become one cohesive, thing.
Right.
So, going a little back to your podcast, are you still doing your sock arm sweater knit along?
So I'm hoping that I can get back to that very soon. I felt so bad kind of saying like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do it. I know, see, and I have to get caught up on so many different things because I feel like I've missed so much the past like couple weeks. But I'll talk with Amy from Two Sisters a little bit and kind of see about what we might want to do with that, because I know she said she was going to help me out a little bit with it. I'm like, first knit along, don't entirely know like what I'm doing, but And then when I kind of said like, hey, y'all, I might have to back out because life's a little bit uncertain at the moment. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm really hoping that soon I can kind of say, okay, yep, I'm ready to go. So yeah, hopefully that'll be happening really, really soon. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Oh shoot. Sorry guys. Hold on. False starts are something that happen. And Anne and I, we've kind of got our act together, but we've had false starts here. It's a normal part of the growing pains. You're like, oh, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then you find out that no, you're not, because life or whatever it is
Right.
exactly, just So that's cool. I love the sock arm pattern. I will never knit one. Isn't it a fingering weight sweater? Because it's made
Yeah.
with sock yarn? Like, no. Awesome pattern, cool.
You could always scale it up. You could,
That is
do the
true.
math, and you could.
Dude, I do enough math during the day with my kids. Like, do I have to do more math for my hobby? I'm writing a
Definitely the
pattern.
math for your
That's as
hobby
much
and see how
math
that
as I'm
works.
doing. If anybody else wants to do the math to make a sock arm in like a worsted weight, you can let me know. But otherwise,
They do have a pullover version. I believe Neil was going to do the worsted weight pullover version. I don't know if he still is going to, but I don't think there's. I mean, I'm sure you could probably do the like make it a cardigan version. I'm sure, but
yeah,
I have no idea.
I'm already making a cardigan it was a worsted weight, and I'm like, forget this, I'm making it bulky. So all my students wanted to make it with like all these fancy bulky yarns, and I said, no, nobody can use bulky yarn. And then here I am making my cardigan, the teacher, totally not following my own rules, but whatever. It's life. It's part of being the teacher. Get to do what you want.
Exactly.
So
So, do you have any knitting projects to show?
Yeah, so I came slightly prepared today, and I've got my exploration station going here. So yeah, I am almost done with section 3. I'll try to zoom. It's kind of hard. The lighting doesn't want to show. Plus, these two colors kind of really blend in a lot. But yeah, so I'm almost done with this section, and then I think it's just one more, and then the like chevron section after that, and it'll be done. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Is that a green and gold? Or is that
Oh,
just the lighting? What colors?
oh, yeah. So this is more of like a wheat kind of like yellow.
Sure.
And then yeah, we have brown, like a dark green, and then like a pumpkin burnt orange color. Speaking of green and gold, though, I should make something in green and gold because I am definitely a Packers fan.
I was thinking, in this lighter, it was looking very Packery. So
Yes, definitely. definitely. One of these days, maybe I'll design something for like Packers, maybe, and do something like that. Because yeah, I'm definitely a football fan, despite the fact that the NFL is so woke and everything like that. I'm like, y'all aren't gonna take away football from me. You just no, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
We with with everything, you gotta kind of choose your battles. That it's all good to be like, no, I mean, I know lots of people who walked away from the NFL. Good on them for doing it. But also it's like sometimes it's your thing. And some things you put up with and some things you don't.
Right, yeah. And like I wouldn't fault anybody for being like, yep, nope, I'm walking away, I'm not watching, I'm not gonna spend another dime. And not that I would necessarily, flat out maybe like pay to go or pay for like merch or like anything like that. But definitely on like a Sunday or like a Thursday night, it's like I'm watching football, because I also do like fantasy football and stuff like that too. So it's like it's just part of what I do. So um yeah, and then the other thing, I have a half finished object. I think Neil would be fine if I show this because I think he was talking about it actually. I finished because he's doing a mitten contest, and so
Yep.
I just did a little plain mitten just to test out the chart. This is
Oh,
Tina's
nice.
yarn, a Wenid or Wenid. Um, I forget now what colorway this is now, but yeah, I love. So now I have to make the other one, which
Nice.
might be a
But
while, but
do you actually have to make the other one? I mean, you tested it, which is really all that you needed to do. Just saying.
well,
See, I would be
it
a terrible
might.
sock knitter.
I mean, I
Flip
was
it
gonna say, I
inside
mean, it
out.
might.
It fits the right hand, it fits left hand. Just it
It's
works, Neil.
fine.
It
Don't
works.
you don't need that second one. You're fine.
Well, the problem with that though is that it gets so cold here in the winter that I would probably want to have both.
All right,
Right.
I'll give you
You
that.
want the
But
second one. Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
be like my
Uh,
kids.
So
I'm just gonna make my kids one mitt, and you guys better share it. 4 hands will fit in there, right? But
30 seconds each hand. Go.
my
they'll be warm
turn.
enough. It's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, so I didn't bring anything else. I probably should have, but yeah, I once again just very very unprepared, but that's okay.
You
I'm
know
getting
what?
better.
Fun.
It's that time of year. Everybody is in a funk and unprepared, and there's just so much happening. I mean,
I
summer's
know
busy, but there's
it's
a different fall is different. I don't know. I know because the school I'm different. Like it's
yeah.
that's not what everybody's dealing with, but it's hard. Like there's so much stuff to do, at least in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah,
So
definitely, definitely, yeah, yeah. But and it's kind of been nice because even though there's been so many changes and I have been so stressed out, even though I haven't been knitting as much, it's still something that I turn to even though I am stressed. And so I think that's been kind of a really like what's the word I'm looking for? See, like now that that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I speak all these languages, and be like, I just can't think of the word for it in English. Like,
Tell us in French if you have it. Smoke them if you got them.
right.
Spanish. Just
But like it's just like one of those things where it's just kind of the thing that's kind of keeping me at least mostly sane. Like I it's funny because my mom and I FaceTime every single day, and like lately I've been telling her like you might have to send me to Funny Farm or something because find my sanity for me, please. And she's like, go knit something. Go, I'm like, okay, all right, good idea. And then I just sit there with like a show or like football on or whatever, and I'm like, okay, and then it's like, I feel better. I feel so much more
Yeah.
relaxed. So
Just just remember it's a season. Like when you're in the middle of stuff, it's hard to remember that like there will be another side.
oh
Things will
yeah.
calm down, it'll get better. And yeah. And it's in Elizabeth Zimmerman say, through all things, knit on with confidence. So there you go,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely. Words to live by for sure.
Do you have
Yeah,
anything
I mean,
besides the mittens coming up for Blocked magazine?
well, I can't reveal it just yet because I don't think Neil would want me to reveal this, but there's a little bit of a surprise kind of. Well, he kind of surprised me, and I was kind of like, yeah, sure, why not? So y'all will see in the next issue. Although y'all might kind of get like a kick out of it because I mean I certainly did, but yeah, so that's gonna be coming up. I should probably talk to him too about the other design that I was working on at one point, and then kind of like, ooh, you know. But yeah, like I still need to finish Cheryl from Wise Owl Knits, her Solomon poncho. I don't know if y'all have seen it yet. It's so
It's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to finish that because I was supposed to finish testing
No,
testing
didn't
that
you
one.
have to take? I mean, okay, if you haven't seen it, it is stunning, is solid cables, like just beautiful. And wasn't like you had a couple issues with it that you had to pull it apart a couple of times?
Well, in the beginning, I wasn't paying attention to like knitting the cables on the right side like I was supposed to. So I had
Oh,
to rip it out one
Oh,
time for that. And then another time I ripped out, again, because I wasn't paying attention, but I dropped a couple stitches and it was down the side. And like normally I'm pretty good at like picking them back up and just, using my little crochet hook and just, fixing them. For the life of me, I could not fix them. I don't know why. I don't know why it was like, you know, and then at one point I had to change yarns because the yarn I was using, it was, so hard to work with. And I'm like, okay, my hands cannot be like cramping up while I'm, So then I had to order new yarn and wait for that to come.
that's the worst, especially when you want to work on the project and then it's
Yes.
like now I've got to wait a week for the yarn. Like, excuse me,
Yeah.
dyers or whomever you're getting from, could we have like next day delivery? I mean, could we Amazon this stuff, please? Come on.
Yes. Prime free 2 day shipping. Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah, no, and then, I mean, I was kind of like cruising along, but then, again, kind of like life just went boom, kaboom. And then I was like, okay, yep, I'm so sorry, Cheryl. I am not gonna finish on time. I will finish eventually though. So I'm hoping to get that kind of cranked out soon, and take some pictures and do all of that. But yeah, otherwise, I don't really think anything else is in. Oh, I am trying to think of a project to cast on for y'all's middle on though. And I'm
oh
trying to think
yeah.
of what I want to do.
I'm releasing a
I don't know.
pattern. It's gonna be pretty fabulous. Just saying.
Ooh,
And
okay, all right,
also,
And since you're a
I
all
mean,
patron,
right,
you'll get it for free if I remember to post it. So
yes, all right.
that's a thing.
and also it is 2 months. So, you could do multiple patterns,
Oh,
you could do multiple entries.
okay.
Just in case anyone isn't aware, we're doing the Puritanical Knitting Fun Run, which looks like the hashtag is free on Instagram again, that people are posting stuff on there. I haven't posted it myself because my own post isn't showing up, weirdly enough, but we will try that.
Right.
But the rules is that you need to knit a project with rough at least 3/4 black yarn, and any project counts. I mean knitting, but also if you're doing like cross stitch in black or embroidery or weaving or spinning, so long as there's a final product, go for it. I don't care if you're like making black leather bags. Cool, fine, you're in, you win. But we're going to do that. So any finished project, works in progress count. So you could start now. Well, it's almost October. What am I saying? It's October now. Start for your
It's October.
run. Sorry. I'm seeing September really is. I'm losing it.
September, I'm serious. September, it was like a blip. It was like a drop in the pan. It's over. It's done.
Yes.
It's now we're in October.
Yes.
So move on. All right.
So anyways, with the fun run, when you have your finished project photo, I would encourage you to do something fancy, something on theme, whether you want to swing into the very puritanical photo, Thanksgiving, fall themed. You want to go full Salem witch trial, you can. That's cool. However you want to do it.
You said if you want to go puritanical, and I just had a vision of my kids like wearing my hats with like pitchforks. Like I know that that's not really puritanical, but I was thinking of like the painting. Oh, that really cracked me up. Anyway,
do not set your black socks under a pile of rocks. That would be a really poor taste. So do not do that. Do not. And anyways, we do have a judge for our photo contest. So there's going to be a couple winners for just, any black project. We're going to choose someone randomly, but there will be a photo contest judged by the lovely Carrie Smith. So
that'll be awesome.
Yep.
Carrie Smith loves to join the knitting community for the most random things. And so she's judging the puritanical knitting fun run because what else would she be doing?
She's an awesome
that
sport,
way.
Yeah.
She is awesome. I just think it's hilarious because,
it's gonna be a good time. Join along, play along at home.
It will be. And don't forget to enter to win our giveaway.
But this is the color Marvelous. You can get it at chickenladyfiberarts.com. Use our promo code baby20pik if you're watching on the last day of September, or pizza20pik for October, National Pizza Month. And you can also get lovely colorways such as this, which is Isom, a little more closer to fall themed. It's got a little black in there. She does have Blackety Black, which is perfect for this challenge as well. So check that out.
I may have just ordered a whole bunch of skeins of Blackety Black for my patrons. So hey guys, I hope you enjoy it. And it's awesome. So make sure you check out Morgan's podcast. She's got Handmade by Me. You're on YouTube, Instagram. Is there any place else that they should look for you? Are those the like main spots?
Yeah, no, those are the two main places. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And a frequent guest on the Knit Night podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yes, go check out them too. They're so much fun to hang out with. I have so much fun hanging out with everybody. I always tell, because my mom's always like, "Oh, so what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "I'm hanging out with my knitting friends online." And she's like, "Didn't you used to go to like a yarn store and do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're all a lot more fun."
We're way cooler. So Morgan's mom, maybe you should come hang out too. Just saying. You don't have to be a knitter to hang out with us.
Yes, definitely.
So cool. Well, make sure you check out Morgan. Check out Chicken Lady. She is at chickenladyfiberarts.com. Sign up for her newsletter, because if a month happens to have 5 Mondays, you might get free shipping. So kind of fun.
Which stacks with our code.
So that's like an extra bonus. Yay. So yeah, check it out. We will see you guys next week. I was gonna say on the Knitting Wars, but this is happening after Knitting Wars, so never mind. But we'll see you guys next week. Morgan, thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.